Welcome to the Exercise Rules of Operation Information Package. The Exercise Rules of Operation, or ExROO, are the rules that govern the conduct of this exercise. These rules ensure safety, fairness, and consistency across the exercise. The ExROO apply to all exercise participants, and you must conform to these rules at all times. These rules will be enforced by observer trainers, or OTs, who will be embedded with force elements. Failure to adhere to the ExROO may result in removal from the exercise and disciplinary action by your chain of command. Adhering to the ExROO and following the rules of engagement will support the successful outcome of this exercise. Firstly, some important exercise safety points. All safety incidents or near misses must be reported to your chain of command or OT. If there is a safety incident at night, use white light to rectify the situation. If you are in close proximity to vehicles at night, stand up and use white light or siloom to indicate your position to the driver. If you are driving, particularly in a heavy or armoured vehicle, be aware of and avoid hitting trees or other obstacles that can dislodge and cause injury to other personnel. Drivers must slow down and be extremely careful around dismounted troops. When driving, always adhere to the speed limit. Only use blank ammunition. No hand-to-hand fighting is to occur. Blue 4 will wear issued Australian or International Force uniform. Op 4 can be identified wearing various uniforms as shown, or a 75 by 55 mm red patch on their uniform sleeve. Role players. Insurgents and other role players supporting Op 4 may wear any combination of combat fatigue clothing, mixed dress, or civilian clothing. Civilian police, police shirt and pants, or blue overalls, or a blue t-shirt. Civilian female, pink shirt. Civilian child, yellow shirt. Observer trainers, a patch with OT. Op 4 vehicles, ASLAV will be in ghillie cam. All other Op 4 vehicles will be marked with a visible red 40 cm square or diamond panel on both sides. Insurgent and role player vehicles will be marked with a green 40 cm square or diamond panel or their role markings such as taxi or police. OT, ex-con and exercise admin vehicles will display a white placard indicating their function. At night, they will display green light sticks, sometimes placed inside an inverted plastic water bottle. These vehicles are to be treated as out of exercise and are not to be subject to ID and other checks, including searches at VCPs. Various mock-ups will be used during the exercise to replicate Op 4 major weapon capabilities that are not in service with the ADF. Mock-ups like those shown on screen may be used to represent capabilities like the MRLS or self-propelled artillery that are not in service with the ADF. Further details on Op 4 mock-ups and what they represent will be distributed via intreps throughout the exercise. Destroyed vehicles and equipment will be identified with red smoke, or OTs will tie red and white striped tape to the front, rear, sides and turrets. AFV will also face their turrets rearward and raise their barrel to indicate their vehicle has been destroyed, is out of the battle, and/or is travelling to the personnel and equipment collection and holding area, or PECHA. To signify damage to vehicles and equipment that can be repaired, an OT will tie black and yellow stripe tape to the damaged area, and/or damaged or destroyed vehicles which have the Live Instrument System or LIS fitted will be identified by continuous white smoke. Heavy weapons fire signature will be identified with blue or violet smoke. The impact area of indirect fire will be identified with yellow smoke. Green smoke is the only colour of smoke to be used by Blue 4 or Op 4 for tactical use. The LIS or an OT may indicate that you've been injured, and you may be issued a SIMCAS card that will state the type and severity of your injury so that simulated medical care can be given. Follow all directions on the card and any of the OT's instructions. Where possible, troops designated as SIMCAS should have a medic or buddy apply an appropriate crepe bandage over the simulated wound site, over the top of their uniform. This adds realism to the activity and informs other exercise participants that they are a SIMCAS and must be treated accordingly. Wounded in action, or WIA, are to be processed through the respective medical system and then taken to the picture. Killed in action, or KIA, must stay where they are assessed as having been killed. KIA can only be moved by personnel recovering the body or by an OT for comfort or safety reasons. Personnel assessed as KIA are not to talk to or lend assistance to personnel recovering their body. KIA are to stand up only to indicate their presence to vehicle drivers in order to ensure their personal safety. If you think you may not have been seen by the vehicle driver, use white light or Sialoom or move to the base of a large tree. KIA are processed through mortuary affairs unless directed by an OT, and then taken to the picture. If a SIMCAS does not receive timely or adequate treatment or evacuation, an OT may declare that the SIMCAS priority status has worsened or that the SIMCAS has died of wounds. Battlefield clearance and recovery of vehicles is to be conducted in accordance with unit SOPs or orders. Unless subject to SIMCAS or directed by an OT, the crew of any damaged vehicle will move with that vehicle during the recovery stage. Notional recovery is not to be conducted. If a vehicle is awarded battle damage, but not a mobility kill, then self-recovery to respective locations and repair chains may occur. Blue 4 can conduct first and second line repairs, if applicable, based on the simulated damage to the vehicle and OT direction. Notional repair time begins when all tools, repair parts, repair manuals and personnel are on site with the equipment at the same time. OTs will supervise the capture of enemy equipment. Blue 4 has 4 hours to exploit enemy equipment. Captured vehicles are not to be driven by the capturing unit. However, exploitation of the vehicle is permitted at the location of capture. No equipment is to be actually destroyed, but this may be simulated if you show the OT your means of destroying the equipment, in which case the equipment will then be moved to the picture. The handling of prisoners of war, or POWs, and detainees by both sides will be in accordance with orders, SOPs, the laws of armed conflict, and the ExROO. Detainees are not to be physically restrained or blindfolded. OTs will place a strip of red tape around the upper left arm to indicate bound hands, and if required, around the forehead to indicate blindfolds. The only exception to restraining POWs is for captured personnel under direct management of military police, who may bind or handcuff participants in accordance with military police TTPs. OTs will oversee POW and detainee handling conditions and will intervene if there is an immediate or potential danger. For example, an OT might move a detainee that has been processed and left out in the sun without headdress or water. Once processed, the detainee will be returned to the capturing force peacher and then repatriated to their own force peacher at the next available opportunity. All clothing and equipment of exercise participants is subject to search. However, an OT is to be present. The dignity of the personnel being searched is to be maintained at all times. The upper left breast pocket, known as the safe pocket, is not to be searched. Strip searches can only be conducted down to t-shirts and trousers. Footwear and headdress are to be replaced after the search, and where possible, females are to search females. Otherwise, female detainees are to conduct a self-search, including emptying pockets, but not including the safe pocket. Controlled stores, that is, all weapons and CES along with maps and other tactical documents, may be temporarily separated from detainees for exploitation, but must remain with the detainee. The capturing unit is not to consume the detainee's food and water, or use their ammunition and controlled stores. White space, white boxes, and controlled areas are deemed out of bounds to exercise participants. Examples of white areas could be ex-con, boundary roads and fences, zones for storing the simulation equipment, communication stations, or antennas and environmentally sensitive areas. The peacher is an example of a white space area that is designed to isolate simulated casualties and damaged equipment without disruption to the exercise. During this exercise, a peacher will only be established for Blue 4. Due to the need for OP4 to represent a much larger force than is available, OP4 SIMCAS vehicles and equipment will be directed to their next position and then re-enter the exercise. However, this will be under the control of an OT and at a time that does not interfere with the battle. Where possible, personnel should arrive at the peacher with rations and full marching order, including controlled stores. However, the peacher will also provide basic rations, water, and tent space to personnel if required. Personnel and equipment will normally be held in the peacher for a minimum of 24 hours. As reinforcement demands are approved by ExCon, personnel, vehicles, and equipment can be released and will be reintegrated to their parent force elements. The ADF uses the phrase "no duff" for real-time injuries and accidents, while other nations may use the phrase real. Any injury to personnel under a no-duff situation is to be reported by 9-line CASEVAC pro forma through the chain of command to ExCon. Personnel will be evacuated by either road or rotary wing platforms as required. A PAWSEX may be called following a no-duff incident or for personnel safety during significant inclement weather conditions or to recalibrate the exercise following major serials. In the event a PAWSEX is called, all non-essential movement and activity must cease until the PAWSEX is lifted by ExCon. All exercise personnel are required to report the location and extent of damage to any area or equipment in the exercise, either to an OT or through their chain of command to ExCon, in order for the DAMCON team to manage remediation after the exercise. Photographs and grid locations are useful if they can be obtained. All obstacles, defences and activities that involve the laying of defensive stores, such as low wire entanglement, laying of mines, which includes OP4 IEDs, or any other constructed or manipulation of natural features to create an obstacle, must be documented and marked on a trace. The trace must include a GPS coordinate, map reference with written notes, as well as a sketch of where the defensive stores are located. The more elaborate the obstacle, the more detail required. The information is then reported through your chain of command or an OT up to XCON. Now that you are familiar with the exercise rules of operation, ensure you conform to the rules at all times. This will support the successful outcome of this exercise. If you become unsure of the ExROO at any time during the exercise, check with your OT or chain of command.